Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome everyone into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology turned podcast. Everyone, welcome into the program. I hope that you're doing well and you are ready for today's show, because today on the program we have Ralph Bond. You can almost set your clock to it. Everyone, we of course have our science and tech trends correspondent Ralph Bond, who is going to talk about, surprise, surprise, science and tech trends. This is a segment that is really dedicated to the better side of technology, because I can promise you, tune in the other 4 days of the week and you can get shows about how social media is ruining you, how AI is going to replace you, and how, everything else is just going to really make your day not that much better. But that is not today, because we like to head out on a Friday after bringing you down all week with Ralph Bond. So we'll bring him on in just a moment. But before we do that, computeramerica.com. That's where you'll find all of that other stuff, as well as even a section dedicated to Ralph Bond, where at the top you can see all the different tabs, and the Ralph Bond section has all of our past shows, future shows, and really the show notes are the key thing here, because if you follow along, by the time that you hear this, the show notes should be up. You'll be able to follow along with the show notes, get links, get more information, and find out more if you'd like. Ralph does an amazing job putting them together with key points and sources, so check that out. So with all that being said, check us out on social media, give us a like, give us a follow, all that and more. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and jump right into it and bring Ralph on. So a longtime Computer America contributor, of course, has become our science and tech trends correspondent, because that's just where the fun stuff is, not to spoil everyone else here on the program. But Ralph, welcome back onto the program. How you been?
It's great. It's great to be back. And of course, today is the 81st anniversary of D-Day, the Normandy invasion. And being a boomer and the child of a World War II veteran, I have to just do a salute and a shout out and a recognition for this, because just don't forget, approximately 2,510 American, 1,449 British, and nearly 400 Canadian soldiers lost their lives on the beaches of Normandy on this first day of liberation for Europe. Wow. But a little quick aside, just a quick note, D-Day also happened in the air. 10,000 Allied aircraft supported the invasion, 10,000, including the B-17s, which bombed beach defenses and strategic choke points behind the landing zones. And my father, along with 9 other crew members, was in the air that day in their B-17, named Irene. They always named them after women, supporting the invasion. And so I'm thinking of you, Dad, and thinking of all of the soldiers who lost their lives that day. Amazing. It's just such an important milestone in history.
Yeah, and I think almost everyone listening to this program who, had family in America back then, and of course all around the world, but even my grandfather was an Army Ranger who served in World War II as well. Yeah. It's, I'm sure almost every family has someone who served in World War II. It was really a monumental effort. Almost tangentially, my wife and I have been watching the show. It's like Mysteries of the Abandoned. Find it on streaming sites. It's cool. But Ralph, they cover, old water plants and stuff like that. But invariably, every episode has something to do with World War II. And it's amazing. And they go into depth. They go into the history. They go into how they built it and who was there and what happened there. It transformed the entire, not just the world, but physically the entire continent of Europe. And D-Day, they do a lot of segments of there, and just the amount of manpower, the amount of just absolutely everything that went into that is definitely worthy of remembrance. So June 6th, makes complete sense to kind of commemorate that amazing day that was
Right.
D-Day. So Ralph, thank you
Right.
for bringing that up.
You got it.
Yeah. So now getting back to our regularly scheduled program.
Oh, yeah, that.
That thing. If you're watching the video portion, you can see Ralph, you can see myself, and you can see the show notes. It's going to be cool because as we go through this, we're going to show videos and the articles as we kind of go through. Ladies and gentlemen, definitely want to check that out. But as you can see on the video, we're going to start here with story number 1, and we're going to talk about something that might not seem all that exciting unless you are really into like food and cooling efficiency. It's no, not about food, but for computers, cooling is all the rage. And Ralph, even speaking to that, there was news this week that Meta was like buying or starting or paying for something along those lines, its own nuclear facility to run a data center. And don't get me wrong, a lot of the energy that goes into data centers is for running the computers, but a lot of it is also for cooling computers. It's incredible what these data centers are. And of course, where you live, you know that firsthand. Let's talk about cooling efficiency and what Samsung and the US scientists have done.
Yeah. So, folks, what we're going to do every Friday, we look at 4 key articles that indicate trends in science and technology. And our first one's really interesting. It comes from an outfit called timesofinnovation.com. And the headline is U.S. scientists and Samsung team up and they hit 100% cooling efficiency with no refrigerants. Okay, we're going to explain why that's so important. So let's get into the story here. So the basic technology behind refrigerators, which involves using a refrigerant to absorb and release heat, has remained largely unchanged since the early 20th century when household refrigerators became widely available. So there's the setup. Now, Korean electronics giant Samsung has teamed up with scientists at the Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Laboratory to achieve a groundbreaking milestone in cooling technology. Gotta love this. Samsung and an American team of scientists collaborating on this challenge. I love collaborations, as you know. So the collaboration has resulted in the development of a cooling system that boasts an unprecedented 100% efficiency without the use of traditional refrigerants. Amazing, Ben, just amazing.
It's almost like they're saying we found out how to refrigerate without a refrigerator, or and that's essentially what they're saying. But of course, I'm sure they're going to have alternate kind of chemicals here. But yeah, no, those it's amazing that a technology that's you even said it here early 20th century, and we're still using it, and this is a great breakthrough.
Well, you're going to love what's coming up because it's not alternate chemicals. This is the part that's just amazing. So a little more aside here, a little more setup. Refrigerants commonly used in air conditioners and refrigerators have long been known for their harmful environmental impact. These chemicals contribute to ozone depletion and are potent greenhouse gases accelerating climate change. So there's the bad part of the story, the existing stuff we have in our homes and outside of our houses and traditional air conditioners and so on. But in response to these concerns, researchers have been exploring alternative cooling technologies that are both efficient and environmentally friendly. And of course, this story fits right into that. The new cooling system developed by Samsung and the Johns Hopkins scientists relies on a phenomenon known as caloric cooling. Caloric cooling. Huh, okay. Well, what the heck's that? This process involves using nano-engineered thin film thermoelectric materials that heat up, get ready for this, that heat up when exposed to a magnetic field and cools down when the magnetic field is removed. It's like a magnetic heat pump.
Nice.
So get this, by cycling the magnetic field on and off, the system can effectively regulate temperatures without the need for traditional refrigerants. Ta-da!
All you need is those nano-engineered thin film thermoelectric material. There you go.
Of course. And say that 5 times fast. So the article talks about the implications of this breakthrough are significant. Gee, no duh. Not only does the new cooling system eliminate the need for harmful chemicals, but it also offers a level of efficiency that was previously thought to be unattainable. This is a really big, first at the outset, we said, oh, refrigeration. Okay, let's all just sleep for a few minutes and come back for story 2. No, this is really big, important stuff. By achieving 100% cooling efficiency, the new technology has the potential to revolutionize the way we cool our spaces and preserve the environment for future generations. So, wow, I love this story.
Yeah, and like any good scientist, you could see the first thing that they tried there was to cool cans of soda. So, hey,
of course, that's important.
Yeah, that is probably the most important thing. So, no, it's really it's really important to kind of replace these old technologies that have served us so faithfully for so long, but of course are not made with the environment in mind. And this certainly seems to be the way because, Ralph, it seems like with this, if you just have the electricity, which, you're going to have it because you have to run the thing that you want anyways, hey, maybe cooling could just kind of piggyback on that and make everything more efficient. And
good
greener.
point. Yeah.
Love it. And I'm sure that Samsung scientists, being the technology-minded ones that they are, I thought cooling. I was like, okay, there's another story this week, Ralph. I don't know if you heard about it. I'm sure the first option was thermomagnetic engineered super materials. The other option was maybe penguin poop. So, for those who didn't see that article, I recommend they kind of go out there and look up how penguin poop cools the Antarctic. So,
yeah, you know what? And Ben, this reminds me, this is a good thing. If you're listening to us as a podcast, I can't stress this enough. Please come out to computeramerica.com and get the show notes that we're talking about and showing right now on the video version of the show, because you can see what Ben's talking about and what I'm talking about. So again, please come out to computeramerica.com, get today's show notes.
Absolutely. So let's get the penguin poop off the screen and let's go ahead and skip on down to story number 2. And this one is, when we've talked about construction in the past, and that's kind of an area of interest for you in particular, it's about different materials. It's about materials that can do certain things, have different properties that you wouldn't normally associate with those materials. This is like a paper airplane strapped to buildings and kind of moves and forms itself. Like, in terms of construction innovation, the building itself moving seems like a Hogwarts kind of thing. Seems like a magical kind of thing. But hey, that's the subject of our story number 2.
Absolutely. And once again, you need the show notes to see the picture of what we're talking about and the video and so forth. So here's the headline. This comes from interestingengineering.com. Headline: Germany's shape-shifting smart building facade uses compressed air and artificial intelligence to cut emissions. Okay. When I saw shape-shifting, I said, I got to find out about this. This is pretty cool. And it is cool. It's very cool. So this article discusses an innovative smart facade system in Germany, smart facade in Germany, called Flecto line. That's Flecto line, designed to enhance energy efficiency and indoor comfort in buildings by dynamically adapting to environmental conditions. And let's give a little word picture for those who are listening to us as a podcast. Picture a facade of a building, glass windows, traditional kind of thing for, say, an office building, and picture in your mind these kind of, well, sort of kind of triangular-like shaped flaps mounted in front of the windows. And these flaps move, and we're going to learn more about that. So it's visually very kind of compelling looking, if you ask me.
Almost, so, and I would even say it's almost like, it has a certain shape to it, like not a hexagon, but whatever it is. But it is, imagine like a piece of paper folded out flat, and then you fold it in the middle, fold it out flat, fold it in the middle, and that's each of those panels.
Yeah. And again, the video is so helpful in bringing that all to life. Yeah. So the system that they came up with is the result of over a decade of research by 2 universities in Germany, the University of Stuttgart and the University of Freiburg. So that's where this is coming from. The adaptive facade design system, spans 898 square feet and consists of 101 flexible flaps mounted in front of the building's windows. And each flap is made from fiber-reinforced plastic laminates that fold or open in response to weather changes. So Ben, you and I have over the years have seen things like tinted different window technologies to try to help cut down on radiant heat and so on and so forth. But this is active. This is why this facade is so fascinating, because this doggone thing moves. So using compressed air and artificial intelligence, the system predicts optimal settings to balance indoor comfort and energy savings and moves the position of the flaps accordingly. Wow. And then this is great. To really round out the whole picture, also included are integrated photovoltaic modules to sustainably power the system. Oh
Nice.
my gosh, pretty cool. And it's
Now,
installed currently. This is go ahead, Ben.
I was just going to say that, this is from other breakthroughs that we have covered in the past, is these thinner, lighter, easier to install solar cells, put them anywhere. And hey, even these thin flaps suddenly become solar panels. That's a very
so
key trend.
clever. It's so clever. And you know what? I'll stop for a second and do a side note here. To me, sometimes the best ideas are simple. And in a way, when you think about this is a very simple, the artificial intelligence part isn't so simple. And in a way, the predictive and monitoring the weather and adjusting the flaps accordingly on the facade, I don't belittle that. But the idea of just attaching these flap things on a facade, it's just so straightforward, as opposed to something super geeky.
Yeah, no, it's almost, anyone who has put a sun visor in their car windshield to block out the sun, it's essentially the same thing.
Yeah, that's a brilliant comparison to sun visor for a building.
Yes.
And the video right now you're showing is so great, because it really brings to life what's going on with this experiment. So it's installed on a greenhouse in Freiburg, and it's undergone 2 years of testing and recently won an award for bio-inspired innovations. And there's a whole part of the story that we didn't get into, how they were inspired by plant life. Overall, Flectoline, that's the name for this system, demonstrates a promising step toward adaptive, there's the key, adaptive building technologies that reduce energy consumption and enhance sustainability. Bravo.
No, it's so simple, makes so much sense, and honestly, maybe because it's something different, and we really haven't seen something like this before. I would say it's closer to like an art installation, like just the way that it looks. It's very futuristic and very cool looking. Like it doesn't.
I think so too.
Yeah, it's not just a giant, like, I guess, like sheets or cover for the building. It's very, very modern in what it's doing. So
it's super cool, I think.
Yeah, no, and hey, I hope that they start like, nowadays you buy a solar panel, you get a whole system, and they kind of put it in place. If they develop a system that's kind of standardized, hey, maybe you could install this or have this installed for your home sometime in the future. So,
well, yeah, and Ben, one last thing just occurred to me. Since this is something that's installed on a framework over the facade's windows, you could retrofit buildings with this technology, I would think. It doesn't mean you have to build from the ground up with this in mind. You could add it, like adding solar panels to your roof. So, wow.
Right. And I think you only have to take one trip to a big city to see a lot of buildings that have a lot of glass that, hey, maybe would benefit from something so simple. So Flectoline, very cool. Story number 2. Story number 3, we're going to talk about, well, contact lenses. And, this is something that is pretty unique, because when it comes to contact lenses, like, don't get me wrong, it's a pretty cool invention a couple years ago, but it seems to be, I don't know, Ralph, if it's like pop culture, if it's movies, if it's just, it's something about just something that is like the ultimate wearable. It goes over your eye. It's, it doesn't get taken out. People can't really notice it. But then I guess in movies, it gives you supervision. Well, hey, maybe the movies are influencing what is coming next, because story number 3 speaks to that. Hey, we may have that soon.
Yeah. In fact, in terms of trends, which is what we look at, we often look at things that are early research or just breaking technology breakthroughs. This is a good example of a trend that you and I have been seeing, and that is people around the world are looking at, can we embed smart technology into, of all things, contact lenses? Answer is yes. It's pretty interesting. And this is an interesting example. This comes from livescience.com. The headline here is supervision, not supervising, like supervising kids in a school. No. Supervision. Contact lenses let wearers see in the dark, even with their eyes closed. What? So let's check this out. This article reports on an innovative breakthrough in vision enhancement technology. Contact lenses that provide supervision by enabling wearers to see infrared light, even in the dark with their eyes closed. Okay, this is very sci-fi. So researchers from the University of Science and Technology of China have embedded specially engineered nanoparticles into traditional soft contact lens materials. And these nanoparticles absorb near infrared light in wavelengths typically ranging from 800 to 1600 nanometers and convert into visible light between 380 and 750 nanometers, allowing wearers' eyes to detect details that are normally invisible to our human eyes. It's pretty wild.
I wonder if, and I'm not the most scientific minded, despite Ralph's many attempts. I wonder if that means that you literally will see different colors, and because the light spectrum, you only see the
Very
visible
intuitive.
light spectrum. I wonder if you'll see other colors. I don't know.
Very intuitive, Ben. Stand by. You're going to find out about that in this article, which I just love.
Nice.
So the initial experiments with this involve both animal and human trials, which is great. And once again, our salute to mice and rats who've done it all for us over the years. Mice wearing the lenses exhibited behavioral changes, such as preferring dark environments and physiological responses like pupil constriction when exposed to infrared light. But in the human tests, participants were able to detect flickering infrared signals and discern the direction of the light, with the effect being even more pronounced when their eyes were closed. Okay.
That might be a little uncomfortable to use, is, when you're seeing things even after you close your eyes. But yeah.
And the closing of the eyes is really kind of fascinating. The article says this enhanced performance with closed eyes is attributed to the fact that near infrared light can penetrate eyelids more effectively than visible light. Okay, I didn't know that. Moreover, by tweaking the nanoparticles in the contact lenses to convert specific wavelengths into different colors, the technology holds potential for enhancing color perception, which could benefit people with color blindness. There you go, Ben. You realize this potential.
Yeah, color and light, of course, means so much. And I was just thinking, it's like, oh, there's blurple over there, like there's a completely different color. But no, they're talking about people with like red-green blindness, which, even something as simple as that prevents people from driving because, they can't really know. So, yeah, it's that's a really good use for it as well.
Yeah, I think in the end of the day, that might be its best use. And to kind of wrap things up, and this is a good example of a lot of the things we talk about are early research, folks, not something you're going to go to Costco and get next week, okay? So although the lenses currently have limitations in terms of resolution and sensitivity, only responding today to strong light sources, the research paves the way for non-invasive, low-power wearable devices with applications in could be beyond color blindness issues, with applications in security, rescue, encryption, and anti-counterfeiting settings. I keep thinking about the Mission Impossible movies. Doesn't Tom put special contact lenses in that give him the ability to see things or get computer information? I don't know. It seems to me I remember that from one of the Mission Impossible movies.
Yeah, something like that, where he puts a contact lens in and it gives him like a heads-up display.
That's it.
Like
that's
information overlaying. And even more so to like other research that we've had in the past, I remember a contact lens that would actually kind of morph itself. It would like actually change the shape of the contact lens, and it would allow people to get like 3 times zoom vision just with the contact lens. Little things like that. That, hey, maybe there will be applications for contact lenses in all the places. I don't know how cryptography is going to be there. Maybe they just needed the extra, clicky thing, but I don't know. Very
Who
interesting.
knows?
So there you go. Story number 3 out of China with amazing contact lenses. Let's go ahead and go to our final story of the day. And Ralph, always make sure that these stories have a medical lean to them, because that's where some of the most exciting innovations happen, is with, even though we're not, we haven't quite yet cured cancer, but there's a lot of different places where technology is. Ralph, I will even say that to a lot of your stories, it's kind of made me, kind of take notice of the medical world and kind of where it's going. That I was listening to talk radio the other day, as if I wasn't a big enough nerd already. But yeah, I was listening to talk radio, and they were talking about the pipeline essentially of getting drugs through, trial testing and things like that.
Yes.
They were talking about,
Right.
the cost of like primates, which, just a little tidbit for everyone out there, apparently it costs like, and the doctor was very nice, and he was like, ethical qualms aside, a non-human primate costs $60,000 a piece to kind of go through testing, and of course that's not maintaining and doing all that kind of thing. So yeah, like the cost of getting things through the medical field. And then Ralph, you know what they were talking about? They were talking about non-human organoids and getting and getting drugs to the finish line that otherwise would have been stopped, canceled, not developed. They said that the world of medicine with AI and non-human organoids is going to get a lot better, a lot cheaper, a lot faster. And hopefully that means for people out there with diseases that this could help, it's going to get a lot better in the coming years. We just have to, be ready for it. So,
Oh yeah, Ben, you've nailed one of the key trends in medical technology right now: the combination of artificial intelligence and the development of lab-grown organoids, in many cases based on human stem cells. So you're dealing with real human tissue to experiment on your medicine on, instead of mice or rats or monkeys or whatever other animals. So I think you're right. We're headed to a day when we will not have to have animals sacrifice their lives or be made uncomfortable or whatever the case may be to benefit humans in terms of medical research. So we're getting there. We're going to get there. This story, though, is a kind of a different twist. This last story for today is in the field of imaging. So the headline here, and by the way, this comes from an outfit called studyfinds.org. Headline: hair-thin camera could help doctors spot tumors, cancer cells without major surgery. So this is really cool.
Yeah, I read that first as thin hair camera, and I'm like, I got one of those in my home. I don't need. It's pointing at me right now, Ralph. I don't know what to tell you. It's but no, hair thin camera makes more sense.
Yes, this is really a cool story. I just really like this a lot. So scientists at Carnegie Mellon University have created a camera so small it's thinner than a human hair, flexible enough to bend with your movements, and capable of seeing deep inside living brain tissue without causing major damage. That's the part that's really exciting: the ability to go into the brain and look around without causing damage. The goal was to develop a mini machine to capture high-resolution images of brain activity in real time. That's really cool stuff.
Yeah, silly me. I thought the brain just kind of worked on, kind of hormones and electricity and, everything kind of. I didn't realize there were actually moving parts, but I guess there are. So cool.
Yeah, the device is called the Micro Imager, and it measures just 7 micrometers thick and 400 micrometers wide. Now, to put that in perspective, folks, that's roughly 14 times thinner than a human hair. What? 14 times thinner than a human hair. Wow.
So you could imagine a human hair poking into your brain, and this is 14 times more comfortable than that. So makes a lot of sense.
It's just, and talking about what normally they have to do to take a look inside your brain, unlike bulky traditional endoscopes that can severely damage, unintentionally of course, delicate brain tissue, this ultra-thin camera can slip between neurons according to the research published in the Biomedical Optics Express outlet. And then we have a link, by the way, in the show notes. I should have mentioned this before. The show notes are valuable, folks, because I also embed links to the research papers in many cases. Okay, so then this is there as well. You can dive in deeper if you want to do that. Let's pick up where we left off here. There. So the researchers built their camera using something called Parylene photonics. And I went, what? I've never heard of that. Essentially, let's try that again. Essentially, tiny light highways made from biocompatible polymers that the body won't reject. These microscopic waveguides act like fiber optic cables, but they're flexible enough to bend and twist without breaking. And as I read that paragraph, remember, 14 times thinner than a human hair, this camera system. What? And in the show notes, come out to computeramerica.com. I have a side note on what the heck is Parylene photonics. There's all these details. We're not going to go through that. You can come and get the show notes and dive into that if you wish to. But surgeons could one day use this technology to precisely identify tumor boundaries during operations, potentially saving more healthy brain tissue. And in the field of cancer surgery and so forth, identifying accurately the boundaries of a cancer is so important. I've had what's called a Mohs procedure on my face, where they do a little, remove some tissue, and they keep removing and removing until they identified the boundaries of the cancer and can say, okay, we got it. This is sort of related to that.
Yeah, they kind of start with the melon baller, and then they are like, okay, we need the slightly bigger melon baller, and they just keep going until they're good. No, it's very archaic the way that they kind of do. It's like, did we cut enough? And now they'll know beforehand. Yes, this is enough to cut, and then they start cutting. So
yeah, again, defining clearly the boundaries of a cancer as opposed to healthy tissue. And this is where this tiny camera is going to help. So with this breakthrough, researchers studying neurological diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's could observe brain cells in action without the invasive procedures currently required. And unlike rigid fiber optic cameras that can only capture a single point of light, oh wait, there's more. This isn't amazing enough, check this out. Unlike rigid fiber optic cameras that can only capture a single point of light, this flexible device has 20 independent channels to create detailed images. I rest my case in the world of wonders. Wow.
Yeah, no, this one is definitely deserving of wow. And I guess that's what these little black lines here, if you're watching the video portion, kind of indicate the different channels and getting some sort of resolution of what you're seeing, not just, on or off. Very impressive. And the whole thing makes you squirm a little bit because, hey, sticking anything in the brain. But at the same time, to be able to do something that I guess Ralph, like they said before, just take a chunk of the skull off and then, start poking around, see what you can see. This is going to help so many people. And of course, with early diagnostic, with accurate, seeing everything, it's incredible what they're able to do. And hey, that's what modern technology gets you. This is what you come here to highlight every single week. So,
you got it.
Yep. So for everyone out there, we want to thank Ralph. We keep the show to 4 stories just to make it a little bit easier. Try to keep the show to about half an hour. We're doing a really good job with that, and we are enjoying that format. But that means that some of the stories that Ralph finds just simply aren't going to not make the cut, because these are still great stories. You should hear about them. And if you're a researcher listening to this, your research is just as good as everyone else's. But hey, we just don't have time. So if you want to come out to computeramerica.com, go to the show notes, go to the honorable mentions at the end there, and you will find stories just like today that you can read more about yourself if you want to know more. And of course, we'll start by reading off the headlines, and you can come out to the show and check them out as well. So Ralph, let's start with the first honorable mention.
You got it. Our first one, first of 4. Comes from techxplore.com. Headline: Ultralight robotic prosthetic hand enables efficient and stable grasping through simple control. And there's a lot going on in here. Please come out and check this story out. And prosthetics, of course, is one of the areas where technology is making everyday amazing advancements. It's just so, it's a great field of medical technology to check out. The next one comes from Energy Live News. This one, this is so great. Headline: Breakthrough lithium CO2 battery captures carbon while storing energy. We're talking about a battery that does its thing as a lithium battery, and then you'll find out it does it quite well, 2.5 times better than typical lithium battery. But at the same time, it's doing its thing. It's capturing CO2. Win-win.
Yeah, I was about to say a win-win, and again, a very, in its current iteration, a very loose definition of battery. But
Yes, it's kind of comical that the experimental, it looks like a mayonnaise jar or something. They put all these wires and stuff in there. But hey, again, an example of early research, folks. That's the key here in trends, and that's what we do every Friday. So the next one here comes from phys.org, short for physics.org. Headline: Smallest inorganic semiconductor enables eco-friendly hydrogen production. And Ben, hydrogen production has been an enduring topic for us almost every week, so check that story out. And our last one, this one's really fun in the area of robotics. It comes from a publication called onenurse.com. Nurse as in a medical nurse. And the headline is Neurabot, Taiwan's artificial intelligence nurse on the front lines. It's talking about the deployment of this robot. It's actually out there. Now, this is a case where it is in the field. It is doing its thing, and it's in Taiwan. And check this out if you're interested in artificial intelligence, robotics, and as it applies, in this case, to a medical environment. So good stuff. I hope we leave you feeling better about our future.
Absolutely. No. And this one in particular, I love it. Just even glossing over the key points that you put in there, where it does deliver medication, guides visitors, simple things that really, anyone can do. It is not trying to replace a nurse. It is simply going to make a nurse's life easier. And if there's anything that is worth doing, Ralph, if you've ever met healthcare workers, their lives being easier would make all of our lives easier. So. Amen. I love that story. And again, just a quick shout out to the very beginning of the show, D-Day, Memorial Day, and everyone. It's a very special day. And Ralph, I got to say, it was a very fun show as well to cap it off. So everyone out there, thank you so much for tuning into Computer America. The music means that we are wrapping up here. And ladies and gentlemen, if you want to find more Computer America, come out to the website or anywhere that you listen to podcasts or YouTube, and you can find all of our past shows and, of course, our continuing shows here with Ralph as well. Ladies and gentlemen, until next time, have a great day. Thank you so much. I'm supposed to add this here, Ralph. May your hard drive never become floppy. Everyone, have a good one. Bye, everyone.